Shalom Akim, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Kwakadash, the honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Rip and Still Do Well. There's the Bird of Menashe DC camp with another short lesson to defy the hope for elect. As you see on the screen, the next global recession, how bad would it be? It's going to be terrible in these last days. So I come to prophecy. I came that in the scriptures of the Lord Yahweh Shai understand the damage that will be done. You see the current damages. You see the companies going out of business. All right, so it's all according to the will of the Lord Yahweh Shai. You can't run away from situations like this. You can't turn a blind eye. All right, this is exactly what the Lord Yahweh Shai has set in motion. All right, because the spirit can't stay stagnant. Things has to happen. Okay. And that's the reason why you see all these things take place. All right. So it's a beautiful thing. You can't run away. All right. So I'll just keep it simple. All right. So this is Isaiah chapter 24. So I'm going to start from verse 1. I'll keep it brief. I'll stop at verse 2. Behold, the Lord Yahweh maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattered abroad the inhabitants thereof. Alright, so the Most High has a judgment coming upon the face of the earth. Alright, he's going to destroy Esau's financial system. Alright, so that's exactly what you're seeing. So Esau's planning to introduce his so-called mark of the beast to have more control over the people, because the days of cash is almost over. So he wants to move on to the next phase, but it's going to be difficult, all right, because it's going to experience a lot of pushback, both physically and spiritually, all right? And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. So the Lord Abba Shema Shai is going to level the playing field when they start to destroy the power structure of Esau. Alright, so you'll be so amazed at what the Lord Abba Shema Shai can do. Alright, so it's a beautiful thing. Alright, you can't pretend that it's not taking place. Alright, and then you look at all the madness that's taking place upon the face of the earth. The financial situation is terrible. So I'll play some of this video and you have an idea of what's going on.
We focused on this now because it's been a decade since the global recession of 2008, 2009, and some interesting and worrying vulnerabilities are also popping up at the moment. In 2008 and 2009, the dominoes were really set up for quite a nasty financial and economic crisis. This time, the economic vulnerabilities aren't quite as large. They're large enough that we could see a slowdown in GDP growth, a slowdown in trade, and things of that nature. The real risk is that our lack of preparedness and the lack of room for global cooperation will turn what starts as kind of a minor downturn into something much larger and much more difficult to deal with sometime in the next year or two. The last big global downturn began in the United States with the collapse of the housing bubble and the financial sector there.
And that's exactly what you need to be aware of in these last days, man. You don't want to run away from your heritage as an Israelite, because Lord Yahweh Shema Shai is preparing his elect for these times of difficulties, a time of Jacob's trouble. All right, so our people need to immerse, I would say submerge themselves in the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai. These scriptures, let the Holy Spirit of the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai guide you. Because America is that so-called epicenter, or the world always look forward to for so-called financial guidance, for that financial guidance, all right, prosperity and all that. But at the end of the day, hey, the Lord Abba Shema Shai is taking away these people's focus from America. They're looking elsewhere.
Much larger and much more difficult to deal with sometime in the next year or two. The last big global downturn began in the United States with the collapse of the housing bubble and the financial sector there. Next time the
Yeah, everything in Esau's kingdom is the bubble. You hear the so-called real estate crisis. It's no joke. Yeah, so you just gotta be patient.
The last big global downturn began in the United States with the collapse of the housing.
Yeah, so they say a man's house is his castle. So when a man doesn't have the means to keep his castle protected and in shape, from the elements, from thieves and all that stuff, everything falls into disrepair. Not because he's lazy, it was because the system crumbled upon him. All right, the supporting structure of the economy, all right, are no longer working in his favor. So what can he do? Everything goes into disrepair, and that's exactly what Esau's kingdom is about. Okay, a kingdom that's going into disrepair. The Lord Hashem Ashai is about to foreclose on Esau's rulership.
Bubble in the financial sector there. Next time, the trouble is much more likely to start elsewhere, and perhaps in the emerging world. Emerging economies are a much larger share of global output than they used to be. They've also gone on something of a borrowing binge over the last 10 years, which means that they could be due for a reckoning.
And that's what Esau's society has promoted over the world. All right, his so-called financial instruments, his financial planning, and all that stuff. A lot of these nations have copied it, and now they're in deep trouble. Okay, now so they gotta start looking for resources to back up their investments. All right, they're looking to cut their losses. All right, so I get another precept here. This is going to be from the book of Proverbs chapter 22, verse 7. Yes, let me pull it up real quick. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 7. Alright, that's all elementary, okay? So it says, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. So all these smaller countries, they have to do certain things to be in the good grace of their so-called creditors, all right? Because they have to borrow money to survive, and it's terrible. They got to start privatizing the so-called government services, the so-called mines and everything else, and then people want to leave the country because they can't make a suitable living for their families.
There are also reasons to be concerned about the euro area, and in particular Italy, which has an enormous public debt problem, and where markets have been feeling a bit jittery about their ability to pay that back, and that could relaunch the euro area debt crisis that we saw about a half-decade ago. The tools governments normally use to fight a recession won't be available in the same way that they normally are the next time around. Interest rates will be very low, and so we normally rely on central banks to do interest rate cutting to perk up spending, perk up growth, and they're...
Yeah, so all this debt that's upon the face of the earth can easily be wiped away, but because the elites don't have any interest on seeing the people to be prosperous and free and be productive, the problem is going to persist, all right? So that's how messed up Esau is. Doesn't want the people to live the productive life, all right? You just want to hold them hostage, squeeze and squeeze and squeeze the life out of them, all right? So this is the book of Sirach chapter 18, verse 33. It says, be not made a beggar by banqueting upon borrowing. Don't go beyond your financial limits. Cut your coat according to your size. All right, you gotta know how to be frugal. The scripture tells you how to be frugal. How to be, be judicious when it comes to your financial. All right, the so-called chump change that you make, you should know how to hold on to it. All right, you just don't go on a spending spree. All right. So Sirach 18 verse 33, be not made a beggar by banqueting upon borrowing. Meaning don't go borrowing more than what you have when you don't have the strength to earn more. Okay? When thou hast nothing in thy purse, for thou shalt lie in wait for thine own life and be talked on. All right. So that means, you're going to become your own worst enemy. you know, you hear about people that take out life insurance policies, and then, the only way they could keep their family above water is if they find a way to, off themselves. So they have to orchestrate some mischievous act that the insurance company cannot prove. All right. So they organize a so-called the so-called bomb, to off them, or they go find someone that could inject them with some medical, with some so-called chemical, for them to just so-called die of natural causes. Say, oh, he had a heart attack, and then the family doesn't want to give an autopsy because they think that their father died of a natural causes, so they're going to resist every will of insurance company to investigate. Yeah, so that's how our Esau society is. Suicide. A lot of these Edomites commit suicide, but people think it's natural causes. But that's how messed up it is, man. People think the only way out of financial instability, death, and suicide. That's how these Edomites think. They kill their families, to avoid shame. All right, that's how messed up. That's what pride does to people. Rather than just be humble and take the L and get your shit together, they rather just, go on a shooting spree because they're depressed. All right. Yeah, so that's one thing, I can gotta pray that Lord Yabashima shall give you strength, give you the strength to absorb all these shocks and all these hits. Just like a football player, just like an athlete, you gotta know how to take a hit. All right, you're gonna experience the pain. All right, but you shouldn't quit. You should learn that you gotta finish the journey. You gotta finish the race. All right, you gotta finish. All right, this adventure that we are on. Okay, and then I look at another precept here. This is gonna be from the book of Habakkuk. All right, because it's not good to live in debt, man. It's a life of misery. All right, especially when you do not have the means to stay afloat. All right, so if you read Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 1 all the way to verse 7, you have an idea. All right, so this is verse 1, okay? I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I'm reproved. And that's exactly what the Lord Yabashima is telling our brothers, that's in highways and byways, the so-called Negroes, Latinos and Native Americans, who the Israel the Bible speaks of, that we need to prepare ourselves for the coming, collapse of Esau's society. All right, verse 2. And the Lord Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. And that's the point, okay? And verse 3 also says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. By the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. And then the real kicker, read verse 5, it says, yeah, also because it transgressed by wine. This is Esau, okay? This is his character, all right? He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all peoples. Always about forming this organization, forming this coalition, forming this pact, this alliance. All right, because he doesn't want to stand by himself. He always got to hold on to people to survive. Got to look for people's credibility. To do his BS. Right now that the nations want to separate themselves from Esau, starting from from the Western nations, the EU, especially America, France. You hear about the so-called African countries in West Africa. They don't want to deal with France no more concerning their financial stability. All right, they want their money back. They want to be in control of that, and all these nations, don't want to deal with Esau no more. All right, starting from the EU nations, the main members of the EU. All right, like England, like France. All right, America. Yeah, so they pissed off. That's why you see all this coup, all right, happen upon the earth. There's riots because the elites are losing their power structure. They're losing their grip. All right, so they got to stir up strife to hold the people back together. All right, to squash dissent. All right. Then verse 6 says, shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him, saying, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. All right. Yep. And that's why you see that's theft right there. Okay. Always about gobbling up people's resources. How long? Unto him that leadeth himself with Tikle. When you look at the word for Tikle, it means at backyard. Or that's that debt. All right. And that's what Esau's all about. He's so rich, but yet so many people are in debt to him. And I think that is fun. To hold people on ransom. All right, to make their lives miserable. So Esau knows how to fix the system, but he chooses not to. He'd rather be on top and always cook up some false schemes to keep the people confused and dazed and mesmerized. All right. Then verse 7 says, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them. And that's exactly the time we're going into. These nations are going to rebel against Esau, right, in these last days. The so-called white man's policies are not conducive for life on the planet Earth. So these people are angry. So they're going to do whatever they can, to rid themselves of him. All right. And that's what the Lord Yahweh Shemashah is planning to do in these last days. All right. So this is the book of Sirach chapter 10 verse 4. It says the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. The Most High doesn't like debt. All right. The Most High has the power of profitability. All right. Fruitfulness. You read the book of Genesis, it talks about, be fruitful and multiply. Yeah, the Most High is not holding people back from being productive in the right way, but Esau wants to do everything the wrong way, and that's why the Lord Yahweh Shemashah has to get him out of the way. All right, and set up someone that's more profitable, and that is the elect of the nation of Israel. All right, on the highways and byways, all right, preaching this gospel without any hesitation or intimidation, being intimidated by what they see. Yeah, so it's just beautiful, Esau has to just be put out of his misery, man. It's the illusion that he thinks he's living life to the fullest. The Lord Yahweh Shemashah is about to cut that short. So I'm just going to end the video over here. You see, that's Esau's so-called Federal Reserve, where people's lives, always think that this institution is about, making people prosper, but it's just bringing people into debt. So this is the instrument of the elite to manipulate the life of people. And the people are angry, so hey, they're going to throw stones at the ego, both physically and psychologically. Folks want to go their own way. All right, they don't want to keep this relationship with Esau's financial structure anymore. They want to do something new, something different. So that's the point that I can hope you've been edified. You can always dig deep into what Esau's financial system is all about. And that's the point there I can, just pray, Lord, that by Shemashah gets you out of debt in Esau's society. All right, but the one that counts the most is to be profitable in the spirit of the Lord Yahweh Shemashah, and that's exactly what the Lord Yahweh talks about. Your treasure should not be based on debt. All right, your treasure should be based on profits that cannot be touched by a system that's corrupt. Shalom.